Hi. Today I want to discuss about culture of peace. This is actually I want to tell a story on my reflections on the one of the class that I taught this semester, which is Introductions to Peace. And last week we have a very interesting activities with the students. We are conducting games and then discussions about culture of peace. The game is a very simple game actually. So each of student were given one balloon and then one toothpick, and then in a 10 minutes time they were instructed to protect the balloon. And then after the instruction, the chaos start. A lot of students a lot of balloons are being blown by the toothpick. Many students attack each other balloon, and at the end of the games, I think the students were around 50 to 60 students, and at the end of the games there were only like one balloons left, and that because that student was hide the whole games far away from far away from each others. And then interestingly we are discussing then what do we mean by playing about this game, because all of the students were aware that the instruction is not to attack each other, but the instruction is to protect your balloon. But then how it end up that everyone attack each other, I think that was the questions. And some students start saying that, well, they don't trust people anymore, because usually those who are just who are friends but then end up attacking each others. And then they say that, well, I think aggressive is the human nature. We are all have this nature of aggressions. And then other students also say that, well, I attacked my friend because my balloon was attacked by others, and I felt that I don't want to see my another friends still have their balloon while I lost mine. So something like that. And then we try to have a deeper conversations about it and having more reflections. What does it mean to our own realities on conflict and peace? And then I would share some interesting discussion. First of all, they say, well, because we felt that this is just a game, so there is no stake of losing something, because this is just a game. It's meant to be fun. But then, of course, the question: when we want to have fun, why do we have fun by attacking? Why we do have fun by being aggressive, by being competitive? That's the first questions. And then, of course, when we discuss about the reality of the world, we also know that the concept of gamification, meaning that there are a lot of political events or political relations that was reduced to be merely a game relations. Let's say, for example, in case of weapon, for example, how few centuries ago the weapon for the war are merely a sword, and they use the sword for the battles. So the combatants still have psychological effect by killing their enemy because they still can see the how the effect of their action on killing the enemy. And then as we see how now no I think in the current example, we can see how this gamification is also manifest in the technological innovation. Let's say a digital app for online taxi, for example, how the relations or the interactions, the user interface, user interactions in the app is actually reducing the human relations between the customers and the drivers, also between the drivers and the applicators company. Because right now, the way this digital app value worker performance is merely based on what is shown in digital app, like for example how many stars they get for the worker performance, how many reviews, is there any bad reviews, and then how many orders they have. So it's very quantified. It doesn't really shows the quality of the work or even the relations that happen between the driver and the customers. So that's the first thing on the concept of gamification. The other concept that was discussing that we were discussed by the students on the concept of culture of peace itself. Why do we think? Why do all of us? Why do the students attack each others? Is it really on our human nature? And I think this is also, the part of the design of the class, because we wanted to have action-based learning. So we asked them what happens, and then we gave them a statement, which is Sheffield statement on violence, which this is actually a scientific community declare that violence is not something inherently came from human when they are born. This is something that constructed. This is something that really based on our habit. And if we look at the way we play games since childhood, at least in Indonesia, we play games merely based on competitions, merely based on aggressions, and so on and so forth. So it seems that our mind has normalized that having fun or playing game should be at the cost of other people's loss. And then I think that was one of the reflection. And then the question is, how can we reverse it? Can we reverse this culture of violence that we have in mind into a much more culture of peace? Well, of course, we were giving a questions. What would you do differently when we start playing this game again? Well, of course, most of the students will say, I will still do the same. I don't know if they're joking or is it true. But there are some idea come up, like saying, well, we can use the balloon not to protect. We can use the balloon to play volley, for example, or we can ask all people to gather their toothpick and throw it away, for example, or we can use the toothpick to embed one balloon to other and then decorate the balloon to become something decorative together, etc. and so on. So there is a lot of things that we can do differently, but then of course the question is that when the time is limited, because the game was only 10 minutes and all of the student doesn't have any time to plan a strategy, then we are tend to have our instinct based on how our childhood built us, which is on culture of violence. And then the last point, which I think also very interesting, one student asked me, why don't you stop us? Why don't you punish other people who are attacking each other? Why are you just stay silent and observe what happened in the class? And I appreciate that students a lot, because that is actually giving me another reflections on how the regime works. Because yes, as the lecturer of the class, I have the privilege, I have the power actually to conduct the rules of the game, to conduct the rule of the classroom. And I have more powers, I have more influence to punish other students who are attacking each other, or giving incentive to other students who are choose to cooperate instead of attacking their friends. And that is very interesting, because if we reflect on what is going on in our world right now, if we look at the international regime, the global regime, how it works, if we look at the great powers of the state, they are actually, or these great powers, this regime has the more privilege, has the more power to actually display or to actually perform the rule of law, to actually construct a more just law. So then I think that is also a very interesting reflections, because looking on how, for example, right now there is genocide happens for months, for almost 8 months in Gaza, and looking how these international regime not even dare to, not even brave enough to punish those perpetrators who are killing people, who are killing babies and mothers, who are killing innocent civilians. That is actually the sign of failure of this international regime, which they are not, using their privilege, their power to save. And if we come back again to the first concept, I think we are having too much games, too much gamifications of political word, that it felt nothing, or it doesn't feel human anymore to see, to witness this genocide live every day for the last 8 months. So I don't want to close these discussions in a gloomy way, but of course I would like to open up more open questions. How can we how can we reverse this culture of violence, this culture of ignorance, especially from the great powers, to become more culture of peace? Let me know if you have any thought, and thank you for listening. Yang
satu ya? I'm scared of.
Nggak boleh masuk dong, Pak. Can we watch it before we go? Kita ini constructive.
Guys, no attacking.